Hi guys, and welcome back to Soundcheck with Soph, episode 10. I can't believe we've got to 10 episodes already. Time has just flown by, and I'm so honoured to be able to be doing this. It's a dream of mine it was a dream of mine for a very long time to have this sort of project, and now we are doing it, 10 episodes in. So I thought for this one I would bring on my former lecturer, John Collins. Hello. How are you?
I'm all right. I've got the cold, so I'm glad we've got a lot of table between us.
Yeah, no, it's lovely to see you. It's been quite a while, quite a few years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your hair's a different colour and everything.
I know, my hair. I remember in college, my hair would always be a different colour, but I've stuck with this one for a wee bit, so we'll see. So, John, you've been in the creative industries for a very, very long time, some time.
Yes. I started when I was 14.
Oh, wow.
In 1977. You do the math. At my local hospital radio station.
Right.
And absolutely annoyed my parents to death because they wanted me to stick in at school and whatever. So I had to take some time out, went to uni, promptly stopped going to lectures. I did just enough to get an ordinary degree and run away. And on the side of that, I started doing bits and pieces at Radio 4th. And we used to call them discos, they're club nights now. But I used to do Friday and Saturday nights in Edinburgh, blah, 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 blah. And when I left, I went to work for the BBC. I'm reading out my CV without looking at the CV. But I joined the BBC as a sound guy, and I got to work on radio and on telly for Scottish shows, network shows, outside broadcasts, all of that kind of stuff. And I did that for a while, and then I crossed the line and went into production, because back then craft people didn't produce and production people didn't do tech. In fact, if a producer, I'm talking about editing tapes with razor blades and stuff in the olden days, if a producer edited a piece of tape, we wrote them up and they got complained about. Where now, a producer, imagine you're producing a show, you just jump into Pro Tools or Adobe or something and hack it up and hope for the best. Not then, oh no. So we were just 10 years past the time when engineers wore white coats and things. It was really weird. So I did that and then ran away to be a DJ in hospital, in commercial radio.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, well, you've did lots and
Yes.
lots. Because I know, of course, like when I knew you, when I had met you, you were my lecturer. You taught me radio at City of Glasgow College, and you were also, I think, at that time you were working for Bauer.
I was doing a lot of stuff
Yeah,
at Clyde.
you were.
Yeah.
So, what made you like sort of change? Do you kind of just get like, do you want to just try something, go into do something
You mean change
new?
into teaching?
Yeah, like what made you change
Total
your career
mistake.
path? Yeah.
Utter mistake. Now, where was I? I was working for... the holding company was called UKRD, that doesn't matter. A station in Lanarkshire called Clan FM. And we got bought. It was actually a mate of mine that bought it, but that's a different story. And I was basically binned off, because that's what happens. I was the managing director, and they binned me. And then there was a bit of back and forth. And then eventually I got 6 months' wages in my back pocket. And I thought, right, I can do whatever I want. I'm not in any hurry. Yeah. And it's that way that for the first time, I was off the treadmill. And I had a conversation with a guy called Terry Anderson, who was a radio lecturer in Fife, who used to be a BBC producer. And Terry said, why don't you come up to Glenrothes and chat to the class? And so I went up and did that. And by the end of it, I drove back down to Falkirk, and I got a phone call from a guy at what was then Reed Kerr College, and Dave said, John, you've been recommended to me by my friend Terry as somebody who could do some lecturing, but here's the thing, I need somebody to cover a class starting on Monday night.
Oh, wow.
And they sent me to Awaz FM,
Right.
the Asian station. And
Oh, right, yeah.
And it was in Tradeston at that time, so I was in at Awaz. So much to learn because I didn't know how to teach. But I knew my subject, but didn't know how to teach. And I did that for a year and a half. Now, on the side of that, I started teaching the HNC. and that was in Figi at that time. The HNC radio was in I've forgotten its name, the community centre in Fergusley Park.
All right, okay, yeah, I know where you're at.
And we did that. It was just great fun. I loved it because apart from the boring stuff, and I promise you teaching's got a lot of boring stuff, it's basically performance, because you know your stuff, you know that by the end of today's class this is where they need to be, and I've got 3 hours to get them from here to here. And it's great. And, well, you know me well enough. I basically tell war stories about things I've done in the past, and try and make it feel real and make it doesn't not feel like a classroom. Quite a lot of lecturers do that kind of fake thing where they're like, "Hi, I'm down with the kids, me," and it's like, no, I'm an old guy who's worked in this for years, but I love it. So if I could make people passionate about radio, they would want to learn more about it. It seemed to work.
Yeah, well, it worked for me. I know that. So yeah, definitely, I learned a lot from you, and I think that's why I thought it'd be good to have you on, because you were a big inspiration for me while I was at college.
My wife will cry on my behalf now that you've said that.
Yeah, no, you definitely were, and I know we all thought that, especially I think as well when it was with lockdown and things like that, and we were on Zoom, and of course it was such
awful.
I know, but you were always like, we were all sitting there like, you know, can't be bothered, like just with everything going on, and you were still smiling. You had your wee top hat on.
Did you honestly think I could be bothered?
No, but you showed that you were, though, even if you weren't. You you, for us, I think as well, just because you just But
again, it's performance.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. It was when I did my qualification, and that's a long time ago as well. Somebody said, "Look, you don't need to be kind of on stage for the full 3 hours. Do a bit." Give them something to do a bit, blah, blah, blah. That, to me, that was just like life-changing, because it got even more like radio. I'm now going to take a commercial break. Yeah. And you'd be off, you know, doing some arcane radio thing. Yeah. And it was brilliant. I loved it. And I'm going to hate myself for saying this, but I kind of miss it.
Do you?
In as much as I quite like the white-knuckle fear of walking into a class that I've not met before. And I've got a kind of bare knuckle fight to get them on side, and which I can do, and I know I can do it, and I love that challenge. But on the other hand, making radio is my absolute first love. So
yeah,
here
you are. Yeah, so you did leave being a lecturer, and you are now the head of Country Line Radio. Yeah. So how did that sort of come about then?
Oof.
When did that?
Well, I was doing a country show for Bauer. For Clyde 2 and the 2s in Scotland and England. And I've always liked country music. That first show I told you about in Hospital Radio when I was 14 was a Thursday night at 7:30, and it was called The Country Clinic. This is in the days when you were told what you were presenting. Right. And I thought, what have they done to me? I want to be playing like, you know, today's big hits like Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta. I don't want to be playing country music. And really quickly, I thought, no, I really like this stuff. Some of it is cheese central, but I love it. So I did a country show for Bauer, and I got binned off that because that's welcome to radio. And there was a guy called Chris Stevens who ran a station called Chris Country. And Chris got wind of the fact that I was kicking about, and he said, "John, would you like to do a show for us?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I was on, that's 8 years ago. I went on to Chris Country. Chris sold Chris Country to Country Line. So we became Country Line Radio, and I just stayed with it all the way through. Yeah. And we were at this point where, around all the time, enjoying the radio part of it, really not enjoying the college part of it, because we're getting lost in politics. And it was getting tougher and tougher and tougher. And I just thought, you know, please make something happen. And I got a phone call on the Friday at 4 o'clock. "John, somebody's moving on. Would you like to come on full time? How much money would you like?" So I said how much money I would like. And here I am, head of radio. So I still do my show. I'm still doing the drive time in the afternoon, which I've obviously record because I've got a studio in the house. Again, I do my show in my PJs.
Love that.
It's about the second thing I do in the morning. I'll wander through and do some admin, and then, you know, record the show for that afternoon. I can always come back and change it if I need to. So it's kind of voice tracked up, and then I can get on and do other things in meetings or exciting podcast assignations, and all of that kind of thing. And it's been interesting to come back to a management role in a radio station because in the last 10 years so much has changed. Luckily, through teaching it, I've stayed up to date with most of what's changed, and I really understand it. And there's some odd challenges pop up that I completely love, and it's nice to work with a team again, and to encouraging presenters to be their best selves and whatever. I promise you, presenters, because they've got egos, all of them, all of us, are much easier to motivate than a student who doesn't really want to get out of bed.
That makes sense.
It really does.
Yeah. Oh wow. So you were saying about like challenges and things like that. So what sort of challenges would you say, like, because radio is always changing, things are always moving, would you say that is a challenge in itself?
Yes and no. Radio changes.
Yeah.
For sure. There's tons of little niche stations, and we'll get by on a couple of 100,000 listeners, whereas 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you might have wanted much more than that, especially if you're a national brand. But fundamentally, especially in the commercial side, it boils down to, are we making a profit? If so, everything's good. If not, we need to make it work. So it's knowing what the challenge is, and I think being a hoary old fellow, I can come in and say, no, understand what we're trying to do with this. I've been loving the fact that country music has gone from being a niche thing. It's a bit like having a dead body in the patio, admitting you like country music, or it was. And now everyone loves it.
Like it.
As we record this, I was at a gig last night in the Armadillo, and stepdaughter and three of her pals were elsewhere in the room, and then my next door neighbour's daughters were elsewhere in the room as well. And you meet people, because I'm quite open and available, but it's like, how many people do I know that are here that didn't even know like the music?
Yeah.
So it's great.
Wow, and it is, and I think with country music, it is becoming a lot more popular. I've been hearing it quite a lot on the radio recently as well.
Well,
yeah.
you get like the Dasha song, Austin.
I like that. I really
of course,
like that.
but it's nailed on country.
Yeah.
And so she'll be touring. Bailey Zimmerman's just been through. He's getting mainstream airplay. Noah Khan, mainstream airplay. And these are artists who couldn't get arrested. Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
Massive in country music terms. Luke Combs. Massive.
Yeah, I like
well,
Luke
yeah,
Combs,
but
yeah.
Luke Combs is as traditional as country music gets.
Yeah.
And in my long life, we have never been in this position. If a country act broke through, it was Dolly Parton, or Dolly and Kenny, I suppose, and that was about it. Maybe a bit of Shania.
Yeah. Oh,
But and now here, Shania coming to play an open air gig in Stirling. I don't quite understand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this summer.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
quite understand the venue choice, but hey, go for it.
Yeah, because was Shania not playing here not that long ago?
She was over second half of last year.
Yeah, because
And she did a full UK tour.
Yeah, because I feel like I remember seeing everybody on the train in their cowboy boots and things like that.
There was a lot of pink Stetsons yesterday as well.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Brett Young. I think it's any pink Stetson that had ever been worn at a hen do was being deployed at the Armadillo yesterday.
That's funny. Have you got a pair of cowboy boots?
I've got 4 or 5
Do
pairs of
you?
cowboy boots.
I'm so jealous.
I'm not wearing cowboy boots,
Nah.
it must be said. But, no, I've got and various hats and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not an uber geek when it comes to it, because I still think there's an inherent naffness to it, but I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And I'm that guy. If I'm in the States, I'll rent a pickup truck, not an ordinary car. So yes,
I love that. So going on to talking about being being a radio presenter and things like that, given the difficulties faced with sort of getting into that sort of role, I know you kind of just seemed like you worked your way sort of up, it's just, how do you get that break? What advice would you give? Because I know, myself and a lot of other people, we really want to be in the industry, but it's very hard, very difficult to sort of.
I think that ask what bosses want has changed a bit. And the thing I do is not on trend. I'm doing what I do, and it seems to work, and people don't mind it. But I'm a kind of DJ, hi, that kind of thing. Here's the weather, and we're now heads of music and program directors or content directors are looking for personalities.
Oh, yeah.
Who are you? I mean, obviously, have you got a nice voice? Can you tell a story? And are you approachable? Do you sound like a real person? And if you've got broadcasting smarts and you're able to, I can teach you to operate the equipment. I can teach you to talk to time. I can teach you all of that stuff. But if you understand how to make a story neat and tidy and quick, and then it's just being patient and getting demo after demo out there in front of people. If you, for example, here you are on episode 20 of your podcast. That's an achievement, getting to number 10.
Yeah.
That's on your CV. It's got to be.
Yeah, I think it is just, you do just need to keep
Yeah.
at it and just see
Yeah.
what happens. I think as well though, I think I definitely learned a lot more from college than I did in university. Honestly, like I'm glad I went to university, but I don't think I needed to sort of go there. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I think like I could be where I'm at without.
Yes.
Does that kind of make sense? I feel like I've just racked up like some more student debt from that. Like I didn't really learn a lot.
Sorry to cut across you. I took on an ex-student to be my assistant producer. He's going to get promoted on Monday, actually, to being a full-on producer. But AJ came on board and he's finishing his 4th year. And he's great. He gets it. He knows what's going on, and he was saying to me he's learned more just working with me, banging out a radio station every day, and starting to understand that deadlines are real, and we don't make 3,000 word essays. We need to get this show on air and make sure it's not going to get us in court.
Yeah.
And that's what it's like, And I do feel that quite a lot of broadcast training is some distance away from what actually goes on in the industry.
Right.
It's like do this live drama or do this blah 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 whatever, and it's not something you'd ever get commissioned to make by Bauer or by Global or by the BBC. And we should be trying to have people make content that's real and not content that's kind of made-uppy. And my other big issue, particularly at the uni side, is there's not a lot of radio professionals who have got multi format experience. I can do speech, I can do music. My Sony Award, bless me, was for an arts thing many years ago, and that was up against, it was at 4th, and it was up against Radio 3 and Radio 4, and we won. Sadly, it was the 3rd last award, and I was blutered because I didn't think I was going to win, so my speech was rancid. But I was happy to be at the party.
Yeah, that's an experience.
But what was I saying? Yeah, you'll get somebody who's worked at the BBC once, and they'll talk about their experience on this one show or that show, and it's much more complicated than that. Radio is much broader. Radio and audio now are so exciting.
Yeah, and I think there's so much more to it than people think. I think because I remember like when I first sort of said to my dad that I was going to go to radio, and he was just like radio, like what, like and now like there is the more you kind of like learn about it and things like that, and other people that are in that sort of you're like wow, like
and you can make your own future. You can go and work for the big guys, or you can make magnificent content and get hired by the BBC. You can whatever it is that you want to end up doing, you've got a chance. And it's a chance that I didn't have. If I wanted to commit the act of radio in the 80s and 90s, I would have had to have gone to a place that had studios. Now, if I want to commit the act of radio, for 500 quid, I can have really quite excellent facilities.
Yeah.
And make stuff that sounds every bit as high-tech as the stuff that's coming out of the Beeb and Clyde and Forth and whatever.
Yeah, no, I completely get what you're saying. I think as well, see with the BBC, I have I have heard of like other people and myself who've applied for like so many like apprenticeships and things like that within the BBC, but it's so difficult to get in. How does why is it so hard? Like,
because there's only so many apprenticeships and everybody wants one.
yeah.
I mean, it really is that simple.
Yeah.
You've got to be precocious and precociously talented. Again, there's an ex-student who's actually from Falkirk, Chris Coletti, who's a producer at the Beeb. He did his HNC, got himself an apprenticeship, and he's been at the Beeb for years now. He does debate night sometimes, and that news quiz that Des Clark does for Radio Scotland. It's on the telly channel as well.
Okay.
And Chris is now proper staff producer, but he was like a bad smell. He hung about reception area at Pacific Quay like you wouldn't believe. I know that he would like go and have coffees and whatever just to make sure he bumped into the right people.
Smart, yeah.
And that's how you do it. It used to be when I was younger. Goodness, when I was doing shows as a young guy with hair, there'd normally be somebody younger than you in the studio with you, writing prize envelopes or answering the phones or doing that kind of thing. That was how they got in the building. There's a guy called Craig Wallace. He's now the head of a jingle company, lives in Seattle, travels the world. I hate him. And he was a jock at Clyde maybe 15, 16 years ago. Craig came in every Wednesday night from East Kilbride to Edinburgh with a bag of chocolate sweeties for Una, who was on after me, and myself. And he would make sure we were fed chocolate, fetch in the coffee, do any stuff around the studio, and help himself to Studio C, the reproduction studio. And he taught himself everything. So that by hanging out, he learned how to do it, and he learned how to operate the equipment, and he got the idea of working in a team. We've lost that because a lot of radio stations are very backward now at letting people in. I think the pandemic broke that.
Yeah.
Gave everyone a handy excuse.
Yeah.
We're very serious. We're in the very serious industry. You're not. It's showbiz.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, I think is what I remember hearing that you used to be able to, as you were saying, come in and like do wee bits and like for free and things like that. But now I think you're not really allowed to do things
really
for free, are you? Like,
street team is probably the nearest there is to that. Amy Mysack, who is doing something for one of the West Sounds, when she's not being a Miss United Kingdom or whatever it was she became, ex-student again, but she street teamed her way into the building and didn't let on too much that she knew about radio.
Right.
So that once she was in, she got it, and then she was able to impress them. And then it was you get travel shifts or whatever the gig is. And that's a way that people use to get into these places. And because a lot of radio is inherently sexist, not in that old men want to get off with young girls, but there's a promotion of young women or people of colour and so on that is necessarily a good thing. It can't be all old white men that are doing radio.
Yeah.
But it means that if you're a female or you're a woman of colour or whatever, you've got a lot more chance of getting in the door, and I applaud that. I think that's a brilliant thing. I would get annoyed for 14-year-old me, but on the other hand, they're finally redressing that balance.
Yeah, I think it's very important to do that because that everything is changing and for the better
absolutely.
in that way.
Yeah. And one of the joys of audio, I know we're doing this as sound and vision, but one of the joys of audio is it's colourblind. And if somebody's got a disability, a visible disability, you don't see it in radio. So it's the most level playing field that you're ever going to get. And I think a lot of more modern programmers are, capitalising on that. Victoria at Clyde, who is an inspirationally good programmer, she's brilliant, has done a lot of work for getting, women and so on into the industry and treating them well. Then they're not eye candy, they're broadcasters who are there to work hard. Yeah. And that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody should have that opportunity to be able to absolutely. It should be open to everybody. I think that's why I love listening to the radio, because I just feel like I like to imagine as well kind of what's going on. Like see behind, I like to like picture it. Same as like podcasts where I like love listening to podcasts because I like to kind of imagine it myself. I love like watching TV as well, like films, but it's like there, so I kind of just like to picture how, because it's so accessible for when you're out and about and things like that as well.
My argument was always that in radio we've got the best pictures. I can nip home and record 3,000 men on horses going over the Forth Valley with guns, and I could get that knocked up by 1 o'clock. You try doing that and film and TV. Yeah. Can't be done.
No. No, you're spot on. So did you ever think about like sort of doing TV? Like
I've got a great face for radio. True. And also when I did sound, our job was half TV, half radio. Hated standing about. Yeah. Telly takes forever. Because it's a team sport, you've got 3-4 cameras trying to get it right. You've got an audio supervisor trying to get it right, lighting, trying to get it right, and then you've got the people that are in front of the camera. That's 7 or 8 things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you spend your entire life standing about. Whereas in radio, at its simplest, it's just me in my PJs in my studio, whacking out another show. And if I'm not happy with it, I can go back and do it again. And if I'm happy with it, move on to the next link. Thank you very much. Yeah. So I like the speed of communication. I like the intimacy of it. You've heard me talk about this before, but radio is happening inside your head. Radio, you can't watch the TV unless you're very rich. You can't watch the TV in the shower.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't unwind with the TV when you're in your bed last thing at night. Just can't. In radio, you can. In audio, you can. And I just think that's immensely powerful.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, there is something about it that's just very, very special.
Yes.
There is. Yeah. So do you listen to any like podcasts and things like that, like yourself?
Yeah. At the moment, I'm going through a politics phase.
Yeah.
So I can use it to get me angry. And it's the big ones. The rest is politics and those kind of things. I'll often pick up a podcast like this one. Yeah. If I know somebody's made something, I'll have a listen to it and see what's going on. And I try to just listen to them quietly without making a big fuss about it because I don't want to put people under pressure. But on the other hand, it's nice that people know you're listening to their work. Various students over the years have done magnificent things that I wouldn't say I listen to every episode every week, but I'll dip in and out. I'm going on holiday next week, so I've already started subscribing to more things to load up my phone so that when I'm on the plane, I can be listening to them.
Oh, that's lovely that you support. So do you miss, like, would you ever go back to being like a lecturer? Like,
yeah. In short, yeah, but not full time.
No.
If somebody wanted me to take like a unit for a 12-week run or something, because I wouldn't be subjected to so much of the in-house politics and flavour of the monthiness that goes on. Mm-hmm. And it's such a bizarre industry. It's also very slow-moving education. I'm still involved on the SQA side with qualification design because that's important, and I'm one of the few folk that's from both industries, so I can speak teaching and I can speak broadcasting, and it's trying to keep the train on track. So yeah, I'd like to go back. I would like to deliver because I quite like seeing the whites of people's eyes, the yellows of their teeth. I like the standing up in front of a class. I like doing all of that stuff, but I hate the marking. I hate sometimes students will try and dob you in for their failures. You'd be amazed. And I don't like the rules. I think sometimes as a broadcaster, I don't need to be as politically correct as I have to be as a lecturer. Because as a lecturer, you're there as a position of authority and all of that kind of thing. Whereas as a broadcaster, you're there to engage people and take them on a journey. Give me the engagement side every day of the week.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, because I had thought of it before about being a lecturer, you know, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I could. I don't know. I feel like I'd overthink. I think I'd overthink it too much. I'm such an overthinker. I always have been. Like, I remember in college as well, I was very like that. I'd like just overthink.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a big dose of fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I hear that all the time, don't you?
I'm not crippled with it, but I've got a very healthy dose of imposter syndrome, and I keep expecting to get found out all the damn time, and it can't be true. You know, it just can't. But I expect it.
Yeah.
And the way I deal with it is just get my head down and get on with it.
Just yeah.
Yeah,
just
you know, if I can come into college with a hangover and deliver a morning class about something very boring and try and make it interesting, the students can laugh it up, please.
Yeah. I think, like, I find it quite hard. I was speaking to someone about this the other week, and it was just, you know, how with, like, on being on the TV and things like that, imagine, like, the worst thing has just happened, and then you've got to, like, in your life, and then you've got to come on. Like, that just, because I know yourself, maybe if you're not feeling too good or something like that, and then you need to, like, put on that must be so hard, like, to have to, like, do that. I feel like with radio, you still have to do that, but at least you're not seen. Whereas, like, even, like, being a teacher, like, I'm thinking back to when I was in school, college, and think, like, because now I'm getting older, and, you know, things are starting to happen and things like that. So then you realise, like, oh, man, like, things must have happened to all these people, and then they just have to just like show up, and it's
but
like,
it's your job, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think I used to always admire people being able to open a mic or stand in front of a camera with terrible stuff going on in their real life. But then you get to that place yourself. It's like, no, actually, it's fine because this is broadcasting me, and this is real me, and broadcasting me is expected to do this and this and this.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. I don't know the mechanism. I would love to distill it and sell it as an expensive course, but there's something happens in your head that a switch just clicks, and you just get it done.
Yeah, you just have to.
Yeah.
Do you think that just does happen over time? Like, as you get, like, maybe get... Like,
I don't even know if it's over time
or
it's just the opportunity. If something terrible happened to me tonight, and I've still got to get my show away tomorrow morning, I'd need to park the terrible. Yeah. I remember once getting accidentally mega overdrawn at the bank because I paid for a thing out of the wrong account. I'm talking about mega overdrawn. No. And I got you've got to get this sorted. And I got it sorted once I'd finished doing the live hit I had to do. But all the time I'm doing this live hit, in the back of my mind is, it's all going to be all right. It's all going to be all right. I'll get it sorted.
Yeah.
And so the difficulty was taking up that tiny wee portion in the back of my head, and the rest of me was concentrating on the job at hand.
You had to do.
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, my brain goes in overdrive and everything's in my head, and I just thought, yeah.
But that's who you are.
Yeah.
And if you get a gig in the creative industries, it's not based entirely on what you can do, it's based on who you are.
Yeah.
And people buy people. They don't buy, a skill set. A skill set's halfly useful, but it's, who are you? What are you a compelling person that I want to hear?
Yeah.
You know, we overcomplicate this. And we overcomplicate it at our peril, because it's, are you a good storyteller? Are you a compelling individual? It doesn't even matter if you look good or bad, especially on the radio. It's what kind of a person are you? And once you've got your head round that part, the rest falls into place.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think maybe I think like too much about like, oh, what if people don't like it, or what if, you know, about things like that. But then what
haters gonna hate?
Yeah, there's always gonna be. Yeah, I think it's because it is quite vulnerable. Like putting something, even like having like a podcast or like putting yourself out there. It's quite like vulnerable. So
Yeah.
I think if you want to do it though and you enjoy doing it, then do it.
Yeah, I've kind of got past that mostly, but because of my job at Countryline, because I'm on air and I'm the person that has the email account that the listeners write into, I did get an email from somebody going, "I bloody hate that Scotsman that's on at tea time." So I reply to everything. That's one of my golden rules. So I replied to it. I didn't say I am that Scotsman. I just let them realise it, and I got this not quite grovelling, but they got the fact that they told me they thought I was rubbish, and that the bizarre bit was we're an English person living up in the north of Scotland, and I don't mind any of that anymore. Some people have got to not like me.
Yeah.
Just it's like when I was a younger guy, all the women in the world didn't throw themselves at me. And you very quick, especially when you're me, you very quickly get the hang of that.
Yeah, I think it's just like, like not everybody is. I think I found that quite a hard pill to swallow. Like not everybody is gonna like you, and sometimes people don't. There's not even like a reason. People just don't like you, and that's like alright.
And it could be for any reason. They don't like specky people. They don't like old people. They don't like or specky old people are particularly a no-no. It's that sort of thing. And human beings are fickle.
Yeah.
And I've done radio shows that have been huge market leading things. Then I've taken the same act to a different city and it's taken forever to build audience. And it's just being the right person in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, definitely. Do you believe as well, like, when people always say about the creative industries, they're like, it's who you know. Do you think there is an element of truth to that? Yeah.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
And one of the things I used to say to students was always, if you can convince me you're the real deal, you've got open access to my contacts book.
Yeah.
Because it's make the introductions. I can't do, once I've made the introduction, there's nothing else I can do. But I can still make introductions and get or tell you to get in front of. And some people I can say, tell them I sent you, and some people I'll say, don't. Whatever you do, tell them I sent you.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember like hearing people say that, and I'm like, surely not. Like, surely it's not like that.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to think
it's part of it. It's not
the be all and all to it, but it definitely is a.
Yeah. There are some people who make a conscious effort to go and find new talent and go and identify it. But the vast majority of talent announces itself. I get in a week maybe half a dozen demos from people that want to be on the radio station. It used to be more, but people are more, they'll go away and make their own podcast, to be honest. But again, it's crafting the demo that's right for the person you're wanting to work for. Is it the right music? Are you saying the right things? Blah, blah, blah. And on every week, somebody will do the brilliant one and somebody will just, why haven't you hired me yet?
Yeah. Do you give feedback?
Generally.
Yeah.
There's a former radio colleague used to talk about polite persistence. Sometimes people can get in your face and you can't be bothered with them anymore. But more often than not, I absolutely do.
Yeah, because I do think that it does mean a lot. I know obviously I have thought about that with jobs, and I know everybody doesn't have the time to just give you feedback, but it is good to just so you kind of know what you can maybe work on and things like that.
It's polite.
Yeah.
If you spend a job interview, if you spend 3 or 4 hours organising yourself for a job interview, you make sure you look the right person for the job when you go for the interview, blah, blah, blah. The least they can do is say, sorry you weren't successful, I really like this about you. Or I wish you hadn't done that. Or you've not got enough experience. There's so many things we can do. And it's the same in the creative industries. Some people might not have enough experience, or they need to work on their voice or whatever. There's a comedian who does stuff for BBC. He was on BBC Social. And he made a video podcast called, what is it? Can you deep fry it or something? Darren.
Yeah.
I know him as Darren. And Darren had a poor experience at school. came and did his HNC, and he did a double-headed show with a guy called Stuart, whose surname is just, as the second escaped me. Stuart, if you're listening or watching, I'm really sorry. Macaulay, Stuart Macaulay. And they were great together. They bounced off each other. And Dazza has a really odd sense of humour. It's really, really, it's clever, but he pretends he's a numpty.
Right.
He's brilliant at it. And they sent a tape off to a radio station, and the programme director there basically said, nah, we need to split you up, and it's not working. And anyway, you don't sound like a person that would play in a radio station. He didn't get annoyed. He just thought, no, that's fine, I'm going to go off and do this, you know. Maybe try doing some solo stuff. Got himself into the BBC Social. And as I say, he's making his way now. It's taken him a good half dozen years.
Yeah.
But he's beginning to make his way in the world, and I'm just so proud of him, because I do actually speak to him and his partner, fiance, because she was in the same class, and I do speak to them in real life, away from this, and they're just really, really nice people who've worked hard and who deserve it. So if you believe you're good and you can get some feedback and process it in a way that's positive, that's the point of what I've gone on a big diversion. But process the feedback, because there's always something in there. Even if it is just go away and never darken my door again, why would they say that?
It gives you time to be able to reflect and think about it. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And my dad's always said as well. My dad's always said, "What's for you won't go by you."
Yep.
So if you if you put the work in, and it's cliche for a reason, I feel like. Yeah. Completely.
Cliches are not a bad thing unless you use them all the time.
No, I think like everything you're saying, it makes a lot of sense, and I think the more you sort of like see people in the industry, and sort of like, as you were saying about like your students and things like that, and see what they do, it does kind of give you that boost, I think, to be like, you could do that.
Yeah.
Like, you could do that. You just need to just keep working hard.
I used to say on the first day of the radio HNC, this is not the course to come to if you're wanting a job in radio. You'll get your own job in radio. I'm going to give you the skills that will help you get it. Whereas if you went on an accounting course, you'd be great at Excel and variance reports and all of that kind of thing. And you might well get an accounting job, but we're in show business. So I'm trying to help people make the best version of themselves.
Yeah, I think you've did an amazing job.
Oh,
I really did. Would you want to spill some tea from the teapot?
Why not?
Guys, I've got the teapot. So I got some questions.
Go.
So some of them were from your ex-students.
I'm scared now.
Oh, they're good ones. They're good. I did have to change the wording of some of them, because there's some naughty words in there. So like, just like...
I've done well. I've not sworn in all of this podcast.
Actually, you did really well, yeah. Sometimes, it's hard. People just like non-stop swear. But I'll give you some...
Favourite music artists?
So you answer.
Yeah, no, I'm good to answer
thinking? I think you're asking
no, I'm
me.
thinking. You'd go a long way not to have Stevie Wonder at the top of that list. The first album I bought was in 1976. It was Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder's kind of breakthrough double album. He'd been a big star long before then, but this was the album where he really took control. Love him. I like, there's a kind of genre of music called yacht rock, which is your Steely Dan and that kind of, what's the word, well-mannered rock music, which I've got a lot of time for. So I do like Steely Dan, I like Donald Fagen. I've not mentioned country music yet. I love soul music a lot. You'll find that soul fans and country fans cross over, because the two musics are very closely related, though you'd never know that. So Marvin Gaye, Earth, Wind and Fire, blah, blah, blah. I love all of that stuff. But country has been a strand for years and years and years. So I like Brad Paisley. I've got a lot of love for Tim McGraw. And these are guys that have been around for a long time. I'm really lucky because of the day job. I get to meet these people and do interviews with them and whatever. So that's just like unbelievable. So I love these guys. New artists coming through, I've got an awful lot of time for as well. And I'll go out to gigs and like get in there for the support act.
Yeah.
Because that support act has got a 50-50 chance of being on the big stage next time. Or if I go to a gig, the guy I saw last night, Brett Young, I've seen play the Diddy set at C2C, which is like 4 songs. Then he was at the O2 in Glasgow, which is what, 2,000 capacity?
Yeah.
And then last night it was the Armadillo, next stop the Hydro. You know, it's that kind of thing. So I love following artists about. At my age, probably shouldn't be staying out that late, but what the heck? You know, you've only got one life. It's not a rehearsal.
Exactly. Yeah, I seen you say that. Yeah, it's not life's not a rehearsal. I
Nope.
love that.
Nope. I'm not coming back unless I'm Buddhist. Simple as that. Shall I keep going?
I'll read one. So, if you weren't in radio, what job do you think you would be doing?
My degree is computer science.
Computer science.
How boring. Could you imagine? I've never worked in that industry.
No.
And most of my friends who went into that industry from when I was at uni are now retired and they've got lots of money. I'm not that person. And it's okay. It teaches you to think in a particular way and it helps you solve problems. But I remember when I graduated 1,000 years ago from Heriot Watt in Edinburgh and we were family celebration meal at the Chinese restaurant in Lothian Road, and I wrote on a napkin, I will never use computers ever again as long as I live. Because radio then was tactile, it was record players and cartridge machines and all of that. It's all computers now.
Yeah.
Where did I go wrong?
So what made you want to go and do computing science then?
My mum was a primary teacher.
Right, okay.
Go and do something useful,
Yeah.
son. Waste of sodding time.
Yeah.
Because I worked in a record shop pretty much full time and I went to the minimum number of lectures I possibly could. Yeah. And I snuck out at the end of third year with an ordinary.
Yeah, that's good. At least you did it though.
Yeah.
You know, look at you now though. Yeah,
well,
you're doing, yeah.
I try not to. No mirrors. Shall I do one?
Yeah,
do I
go
like
for it.
Taylor Swift? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can you not?
Yeah, yeah.
The thing with Taylor Swift, parking all the icon stuff, which is sadly true, she writes a mean song. She's really good, and her songs sound uniquely hers.
You're right.
If you listen to a Taylor Swift song, excuse me. If you listen to a Taylor Swift song, it was made by Taylor, and you can tell it straight away. Clever plays on words, oral gymnastics, all sorts.
Yeah. Do you think you'd ever go to like a Taylor Swift
Been.
concert? Have you?
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
wow! I've not been to one.
Yes, no, there was a Glasgow 5 years ago, 4
Oh,
years ago.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't sure because when I
Yeah.
seen the question, I was like, I don't know if you would have been a Taylor
Yeah,
Swift fan or
no,
not.
I struggle a bit with some pop music. I really
Yeah.
do. But and it's old man syndrome. I struggle to find the tune in it.
Right. Okay.
But Taylor Swift's a door legend.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah, I respect that. Fair. So, this one is kind of like linked to that a wee bit. So, country music in the UK has always seemed quite niche, at least from where I stand. This is not for me, but as the person, as I never really knew anyone that was into it, but now it seems to be breaking through and becoming way more popular. So how do you feel about youngsters becoming more into country music, and is Taylor Swift to blame?
A wee bit to blame. In the last 12 months, I'm going to do a boring statistic because I just happen to know it. Country music's consumption, Spotify, Apple Music, blah, is up 64% in 12 months.
Wow.
Artists are getting booked into bigger venues or having second nights added, just because they have to. Brothers Osborne, who are a group that you've probably not heard of, had a night booked at the O2, and the next day they had to activate the second night because the music is now so popular. It's transgenerational in that you get old farts like me liking it, and there's a huge younger female audience, massive younger female audience. And for example, again at this Brett Young thing last night, the number of women in their teens and 20s that were singing along to and know all the words, even to the deep cuts off the albums, is amazing. So it's a moment in time thing. It's having been that guy who's like this unpopular and niche and frankly occasionally laughable genre. People used to always talk about the reversing the pickup truck over the dog kind of jokes.
Yeah.
All of that stuff, we just embrace it. Tay, Luke Combs, oh my goodness, Thomas Rhett. There's a whole load of artists now, Maren Morris, Florida Georgia Line, who are crossing over and having top 40 hits. Yeah. Dasha, a top 40 hit. It actually did better business on the mainstream top 40 than it did in the UK's country music chart.
That's interesting, actually.
Because we all thought, is that a bit pop?
Yeah.
What's the single? Shabuzi's Tipsy, the bar song.
Oh, yeah, the bar. Yeah, I quite like that one, actually.
Well, yeah, and it's crossed over. It's massive.
Yeah.
And I think country's embraced commercialism in a way that it's always been a very commercial music form, but it's embraced a lot more of it. And it's met an audience head on that was beginning to tire of that repetitive bedroom R&B sound, and wanted something a wee bit more organic. It's not going to last forever. I'm not stupid, but they wanted, in the same way as a lot of guys like rock music. There are some country bands you can't get a fag paper between rock and what they do because it's basically 3 guitars, lots of distortion and incredibly loud, and suits me. I love it, but it's managed to make itself 55% female, 45% male, as I say, right across the generations. Other musical genres aren't doing that just now, so it's a moment in time.
Yeah, I think as well, TikTok has had a big part to kind of play.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think with music becoming quite popular as well.
Absolutely. I think Kane Brown in particular, and a few others, a lot of Dasha, the dance.
Yeah, there's
there's loads of stuff going on there that these artists have really embraced social media. And this business of you start off in your home state and then they gravitate towards Nashville, and Nashville's got this amazing infrastructure where the right people are picked out, and you've got to get the song and the vibe right. But my goodness, the social media experts are surrounding you in no time at all.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on with that one. Is it your turn? Is it my turn?
I don't care.
I don't know. I'm not sure. You go.
What's your most bizarre life experience?
Go for it.
I don't know. I'm fond of turning up to do an interview in London back in the day when the record company flew you to London, and I was flown down to London to interview Luther Vandross, who was a kind of big chart act of that time. And I got down to interview Luther Vandross a day late because I misread my diary.
Oh, no.
Fortunately, I got him next time he was in the UK, but that was quite embarrassing. There was a piece in the Scottish Sun referring to me as a dopey DJ. So that was entertaining. Bizarre, embarrassing, but I like to tell the story. I was in Germany with the Scottish Claymores American football team. That's one of my great loves. And we were in Frankfurt at the Rheinfire, and we'd gone to practice, had a dinner, a couple of drinks, went back to my room, went to bed, and then middle of the night, I better go to the bathroom. got up and went to the bathroom, and you don't wear a lot of clothes really, in fact none, and I heard the toilet door click behind me. It wasn't the toilet door. It was the room door.
Oh no.
And so there I am in the corridor, and I had to. I thought, right, I wasn't terribly drunk, thankfully, and I thought, right, there's going to be a linen cupboard, or there's going to be a door that's an empty room that's not locked or something. No, everything was locked. So eventually I had to go down to reception. I don't speak a word of German. Apparently it's really common.
Oh wow.
People do it all the time. But I went down to reception and in English said, as you can tell, I've locked myself out of my room. And the nice lady got me a towel to protect my modesty, then fetched me a robe very quickly and cut me a new key for my room.
Did anyone see you going
I have
by?
no idea.
You were too busy oh no. Wait, so was the toilet not in?
It was in the room.
It was in
I just went to the wrong door.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Okay, I was like...
Yeah, no, completely.
Oh, no.
I'm a bit of a sleepwalker anyway, but that was a wrong door.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I would have been mortified.
Well, I'm still talking about it 25 years later.
Oh, that's so funny.
There you are. I've given you something.
Yeah, there you go. Even William's laughing, guys. Man. So, last question. What makes radio different / special compared to TV and writing? We kind of did touch.
We did touch on it.
On that.
What makes it special? It's all about the intimacy of the experience. TV, it's quite a big performance. It's and radio, you're right up close to the mic, and you've got that inside somebody's head vibe going on, and you can paint a picture with words. You can tell a story well, or you can get your head down and play the hits. I like to write, oddly enough, and I like the experience, and I like going back and taking this word out and putting that word in and all of that. I love that. But just sitting in front of a microphone, and I've got 13 records to play, some adverts to get away. These are the rules things I need to hit to make it work. I just love that challenge. How am I going to make this hour, which is fundamentally the same as this hour was yesterday, how am I going to make it the same but different and better? Love it.
Yeah. Now that's I think that's a great way to put it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can see how passionate you are about it, and I think it's amazing. I love to see people that are like
Yeah, there's a guy.
Things,
A guy called Ewan McMorrow, who was a producer at Beat 106. I was there for the launch of that, which was a brilliant radio station. We broke every rule. And Ewan was saying that he thinks I'm the last man standing of my radio generation. And he's constantly surprised at how obviously passionate I still am about it.
Yeah. It's lovely. It really is lovely to see. No, it is. And I hope it continues for you.
Oh, no plans to retire anytime soon.
No. So John, thank you so much for coming on today. It was lovely chatting with you. It's been a while, so it was really lovely.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it too.
Yeah, oh good. I'm glad. So where can the lovely listeners find you?
I'll even take the less than lovely listeners. On the radio at Countryline, countryline.radio, or there's an app. Everything's got an app these days. Or you'll find me at johncollins.net in real life, and I'm Johnco, JOHNCO, on X or whatever it's called this month. And I've got accounts on everything else, but I tend not to use them. I think this is a function of my age. But I'm one of these people that also I follow back. So yeah, it's good. And if anybody's interested in the radio thing, please reach out, because it's difficult to find the right courses and the right places and the right people, but I'm more than happy to be helpful.
Yeah. Well, guys, you heard the man. If you are interested, then please do get in touch and go check out the station Countryline.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you again for watching, listening. Honestly, the support, the ongoing support from everyone, from all of you, has just been really heartwarming, to be honest. And thank you again to William for taking as always. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.